Hi, welcome to the Wisdom Years, a channel I'm putting together to hopefully share wisdom accrued by myself and from you with each other. The way I came about this idea was I had a friend who called me, Lilia, and she said, "It's not enough that we know, we must also do." And I thought about that, and the next day or two I heard Eckhart Tolle on a podcast, and he was saying, it's a shame how our cultures treat older people. They stick them in front of televisions, they put food in front of them, they stick them in homes, and some of you ought to think about doing something about that. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm thinking about that. And when I was young, there was an ad campaign by a bread company, and it was called The Wonder Years. And they would show a young boy and a young girl growing up and growing older. And I think it was in the 90s, a TV show came around, and that was called The Wonder Years. And that was a really good show, as I recall. And I said, well, why not the Wisdom Years? I've traded in my youth. I had no choice if I was going to get to this point, right? But in reciprocation, I feel like I have gotten some wisdom. I know there's a lot more to gain, but I have gotten some, and the people around me have gained wisdom as well. We're older now, and we see things in different ways. So, what is wisdom? That's a great question. I can start by saying what I don't think it is. I don't think it's training, a degree, scholastic, and I'm not putting any of that down. I have a master's degree. That's not my point. But I don't think it is those things. I think it resides somewhere deeper within us, and if we are fortunate enough, we can access that, at least at some times. And at what age does wisdom come? Well, we all know the answer to that. Wisdom comes at the age wisdom comes. So some people might be older and not necessarily regarded as wise. And there have been young people who seem wise beyond their years. Jesus and Buddha, leaving all religious connotations out of this, come to my mind as examples of that. So for the theme, what I figured I would do with this show is take a subject and run it by everybody and talk about how I see it, what I've learned, and ask for a little input from you as well. The first one would be, I am not an ego or a body. I am free. When I was 17, I had what people call an NDE, and there are videos out there. I'll put a link or two down below about that, but I won't rehash it here because it's a whole thing in itself. And I learned then that I was not a body. But what I had a harder time with, and probably never even thought about for a long time, was that I was not an ego. I thought I was an ego. I was wrapped up totally, like so many people, in my life, in my plans, in my doing. And there was a lot of good came out of this too. I'm not saying it was all bad. Much of it was good. But as I got older, I began to realize that this steady stream of thoughts in my mind seemed to have an agenda, which was to separate me from others. I'm better than him. She's better than me. Why is he good at that? I wish I was good at that. And I realized this wasn't healthy for me. And it all sort of hit the fire when the internet became big and I found myself immersed in social media and arguing with people over the silliest stuff. I don't want to argue over anything anymore, but back then I did. My ego was in full throttle. And so I have decided that I'm letting my ego go, which at first can sound very threatening to somebody, including myself. But as I've done it, I've realized all it's done is make me a less worried and a better person, a better father, a better husband, all around better person. I still am human and I get angry, I get jealous, all these things happen to me, but I don't cling to them. That's the big difference for me. And that has been such a blessing, such a release in my life that I can find this sort of peace at this stage of my life. And it has made me more compassionate. Not that I wasn't compassionate, but it has made me more compassionate and more tuned in to other people, more aware of other people. Life is better with every day. Suffering doesn't linger like it did before. So this is going to be it for this episode. But if you like this kind of thing, and you probably noticed it's low tech, there aren't any bells or whistles, and I don't intend for there to be because, number one, I can't do it. And number two, I'm really not interested in that stuff. I'm just interested in communications. That's what I'm interested in, heart to heart, mind to mind. And I would say if you subscribe, I would appreciate it. If you can give it to your friends, I would appreciate it. And I will put the link for the NDE below, as well as a link for the song I wrote. I was a working musician at one time. That's a whole other story. A song I wrote called Looking East. And in that song, I mention, I am not a body, I am free. I wrote a song around that. And I hope to see you next time and continue different subjects and different topics back and forth. Thank you. Bye.